April 12th NCAC meeting to order. And we've got our quorum. So thanks for waiting and joining. So start out with conflict of interest questions for the board and the chairs of committees. I have no conflict of interest here.
This is Chris. I have none either.
Michael Beachley, no conflict.
Nancy Vandell, no conflicts.
Hey, Rand.
Yes. Oh, I'm on the executive committee. Is that it? Okay. Yes, no conflict.
Yes, I have no bananas.
Correct.
Yes, we have no bananas today. Okay, wonderful. So agenda item 3, the approval of the minutes from February 8th meeting. Are there any changes or additions from what we've posted and are available for the February 8th minutes?
Alex, none from me. They look good.
Great.
I noticed a spelling mistake I made. I'll correct that, but that's it.
All right, so nothing.
No corrections from me.
Nothing of substance aside from spelling. So without objection, we'll approve the February 8th minutes. And item 4, notices from Tillamook County. Do we have any notices?
Received any notices from the county since our last membership meeting?
Okay. It's easy. And then Chris, we're on to you for a treasurer's report.
Sure. So we had a beginning balance of $405, which was February's reported ending balance. We had inflows representing net donations of $434. They were from Michael Beachley, Tom and Debbie Prohodich, Tom Sipe, and Candace and Greg Miller. So thank you very much for those. We had no outflows during the period, which left us with an ending balance of $839, which is enough to cover our next 12-month operating cycle.
Great.
So that's pretty much it for me. I will work on updating the budget for fiscal 2026, and maybe we can add that to the agenda for the next executive session.
Thank you. And thank you for the donations. Okay, wonderful. We had an executive board meeting on February 26th. The minutes are up there. Just a quick summary. We did discuss actually on the financial side whether we should or should not be fundraising as the NCAC, and it was determined that we shouldn't put any effort into fundraising as we are a part of Tillamook County and don't want to get involved in any issues with money fundraising, and our financial requirements are pretty low. We also discussed how to handle announcements and requests, which is still an ongoing discussion as of this morning.
I think you can text.
But we are getting more requests for time and requests for announcements. And one of the things we're looking at is how to be clear about what the guidelines are for what we announce and what we put out to the community. Make sure it's essentially PSAs or useful things to the community without taking sides. So there was discussion on that. We discussed some, and I'm sure Nancy will get into this more, but a schedule for bylaws feedback sessions. And we moved Saturday sessions from 7 p.m. to 10 a.m. And that was it. So all the minutes and notes on that are online. So that was the February 26th executive board meeting.
So Alex, one thing that didn't come up was in regards to the fundraising. We never made a decision on, do we want to remove the donate button on the NCAC website or keep it?
So yeah, we didn't make a decision on that. there was discussion on how to keep, without donations, how do we keep our admittedly small but material needs getting paid. And I know there's been some waiting on money from Tillamook County specifically for our IT needs. And I don't think that has been resolved yet. So no, we didn't decide whether to get rid of or keep the donate button, but that donation seemed to be the only way that we're bringing in money at the moment. So while we're
It
not
seems,
fundraising,
it seems like if you're not actively, going after donations, that the option for the public to donate seems reasonable. Because you're not soliciting, you're just basically saying, if you want to donate, here's where you can do it.
much more passive.
Very passive, I think.
So I don't think that gets us into any trouble, but we can certainly discuss that more. But that seems to be the only way that we're bringing in money until we get some funds from the county. Sarah, you're nodding your head. You're on mute. I don't know if you were.
No, I agree with that. And I just want to apologize for that. There are some internal workings with auditing and different things that we are trying to work through on that. And I also just want to say thank you for the donations that have come in to keep this hybrid meeting format and virtual meeting format going. So thank you.
Great, thank you, sir. So our next agenda item is April elections. We have two positions up for election, the chair and the secretary. And I know we did send out notice that that Mark, who's not here today, as he is traveling, but he has thrown his hat back in the ring for the chair position. And that, I believe that email did get out to general membership. And right now we don't have anyone running for the secretary position. Now we can accept nominations from the floor, of course, at any time. The small floor that it is, but that is also an option. So if anyone decides that in the moment they would like to be the secretary or run for the chair, you can speak now. One of the other agenda item, or one of the other items that was has been discussed is about voting on the honor system and how to keep track of who's voting and who are members. And with an organization such as this, especially with a lot of our meetings happening remote and on Zoom, we are on the honor system. So before any elections, this one in particular, what's been decided, we're just going to read off a little bit of a not a disclaimer, but an announcement about how we conduct votes and who should be voting, and a little bit about the honor system. There's a lot more on the website about membership guidelines and who can vote. So just before we start the actual voting, voting on any motion shall be on the honor system. Only people who qualify as members of the NCAC are eligible to vote. Members are defined as adults who reside in, own property in, or own a business in the Neskowin area. If you do not qualify as a member, please do not vote. If you are unsure if you qualify, please use the chat to ask about your status, and we'll be able to answer any of those questions. So I believe, Gary, you have a poll, is that correct?
I do have a poll set up ahead of
Okay.
time. Or,
And we'll need to make sure we have our quorum here. I think with the addition, I think I see 16 people.
Vicky's here.
Minus Sarah, so, and then Vicky is here in the background. So we do have a quorum for voting purposes, so we can move ahead. Yes, Tom.
I'm very happy that Mark is running. I think he's done a wonderful job. And I don't mean that in any way to cast any kind of negative aspersions on former chairs and other members of the board who I think also did a splendid job in a very, very difficult time. And I want to give them credit too. But we're in a different time. And Mark, as you can see, there are only 15 or 16 of us here, which I think is a indication that it's that the kind of issues that are before the NCAC are not as stressful as they have been in previous years. I think Mark's done a fabulous job. He's been down the middle, and I think it's, you know, in large part because of his background as a president or chair of a school board, and but he's done a great job. And so somebody needs to say that before we vote for him. And I think most of us feel the same way. So I second his nomination.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah,
Right.
it's been I think it's a testament to I think the openness and the trust that the NCAC has in the community, that we had to wait for a quorum on a day where we're electing 2 officers. So in general, it's been so well run that it's made the vice chair position somewhat easy, which I am also very thankful for.
Are we ready to launch the poll?
I think Michael has his hand up.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that one of the things I like to teach is that the sign of a good leader is a person who listens and serves the people he leads. And in that regard, Mark is an excellent leader. We're very lucky, fortunate to have him return.
Yep.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Nancy?
I'll just add kudos to Mark as well. He's attended almost all of our bylaws subcommittee meetings. I know he's attended almost all the community plan meetings, and he's really done a lot of work behind the scenes, and thrilled he's going to run again.
If I may add just a word of caution, as we progress in maturity and complexity, these positions, particularly the leadership position, is really called to do more than they have ever done in the past. And that means, I think, that we are called upon to be much more supportive of that position and what the leadership does. And to that extent that we're capable of doing that, Mark, I'm sure, will sleep better at night.
Excellent.
There's a comment in the chat too, Alex.
Oh, let's see. Alex Sifford agreed, and some of us let him know that. Yes, I'm sure his ears are burning in a good way, wherever he is at the moment.
I wrote to Mark this morning directly, but to thank him for running and for doing such a great job. So
Excellent. Well, he'll be feeling the Nescoin CAC love. Hopefully his ears are burning with sunburn from being on vacation, but
Tell him to listen to the recording.
yeah. Okay, wonderful. Well, with that said, I think, Gary, we're probably ready for the poll.
Okay.
Vocally. Vicky's gonna vote for me because it's my birthday. No. She's
happy
gonna.
birthday.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You just vote. Do you vote for Mark or not?
Yes, I thought I was waiting for somebody to call the,
No, we voted.
okay, I got it.
She voted for
Yes,
Mark.
Mark, yes.
Okay.
Okay, looks online, we've gotten all the responses we're gonna get. So. Is everybody seeing the results?
Yeah.
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 How many people voted, Gary? We don't see that.
Well, it shows 13 of 13
Okay.
online. So
And then the 14th.
13 of 13, that doesn't make sense if there's 16 participants. So I'm not
Well-
sure what Zoom is.
It just means
Uh,
not everybody voted.
Hmm.
And then we've got,
I had
I'm
some
sorry.
technical difficulties with the vote and mine didn't go in. So
Okay.
make it 14. But not
Think it's
everything has to,
15.
just everybody has to attend.
Right.
Okay.
Okay,
Are you
great.
saying you're voting, Tom, though, to
I
be
am,
counted?
yep.
Okay.
Okay, wonderful. And Gary, do we have despite the fact that we have no one running, unless we have a late entry from the floor, do we have a secretary?
We don't, I mean, I have a poll that's an empty poll.
Right.
So, I don't know what we want to do about that. I don't know. I asked Nancy the other day, what's our policies, procedures on no nominees? How does that? And I don't think we have it spelled out.
Okay.
Yeah, we found a little hole in our bylaws that we're going to close on May
Yep.
31st. But, obviously we can either have a vote at our May 31st special meeting for the policies and procedures and bylaws updates, or we could do it at the June meeting, but yeah.
Now, I'd like to say that,
Luckily, by having it in April, we have the new position doesn't take effect till July 1st, so there's some time.
So we can leave this open. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
I'd like to say that Gary has done a very good job of offloading the duties of the secretary. And so they're not quite as daunting as they were when Jeff took over. Probably still more could be done in terms of making the job a little bit easier because it is a hugely important task and complex. So I'd like to thank Gary for stepping in and taking over. I did an excellent job.
Oh, absolutely. I've tried to talk to Gary about staying. He is resolute, but you have done a fabulous job, Gary.
And Gary, you did have a couple ideas about perhaps recruiting some county help on the IT side. And maybe that's something that we can discuss.
Well, I think we just need to maybe see if our record keeping, the way we're doing it, is going to be in line with what the county would really like to see us doing in terms of making sure the records are kept up to date. If there's a more standardized documentation or a more standardized repository structure, because right now it's we're using Google Docs, and those are structured in the way every other preceding secretary has decided they wanted their folders set up, as well as subcommittee chairs. And so it's a little hectic and hodgepodge, and that may be needing some cleanup. And it's probably a big enough task that it's really a lot to ask for a volunteer. It almost needs a paid position on the county to help take some of that work, because it'd be asking a lot of someone to spend hours and hours for several days to get all that put together and cleaned up.
Can I make a comment? It's Lori
Hi, Lori.
Kovac.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you are.
I have to say, I tried to get information about an Oceanside meeting. I missed the Zoom that I wanted to see. And so I looked on their website. They don't even have the Zoom meetings for the public to watch after the fact. And I had to track down the secretary of the association. And then the association and then she had to email me directly a link that's not posted anywhere. So we might be a little bit disorganized, but I think we have more information available than other members of the Tillamook County volunteer organizations. And so I'm sure we could be better organized, but I don't think we should be so hard on past secretaries because I think they've done a great job personally.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know that I put a lot on Gary and Candace, asking them to, you know, deal with things quite a few times there to post for meetings or documents that I have to create in a short order. And I'm so grateful that they are there to do this work, and their response is exceptional. And I'm very grateful for the volunteer service that keeps the documentation of this process up to date and going, with the bylaws committee and the policy and procedures going on, and the SB 406 and the community plan. There's a lot going on that requires documentation, and I'm so grateful for those services of the NCAC and the work that Gary and Candace have been doing.
It's the fact that
Not to mention Tom on top of it all, doing amazing documentation. So
Yeah, I'm not criticizing anyone on who's been using the Google Docs. It's just simply we've had a lack of standards, and so we haven't had any guidance about how our folder structure should be set up. So it's easy to, and once the other complication is once it's in place, we've got links from our website to those Google Docs, and once those Google Docs get rearranged so that they're more organized, those links get broken, and somebody will have to go in and also repair the website links. So that's why I'm saying it's going to be a lot of work to ask a volunteer or even a team of volunteers to go and do that if we do want to make a wholesale change to how we structure things, and if there's a county standard that we should be following.
Yeah, it's not fixing poor work. It's just a lot of work needs to be done just to bring everything onto the same page. I know, Sarah, you had your hand up next.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, so I actually just put $200,000 into our budget proposal this year for this coming fiscal year to digitize all of our records, because I have filing cabinets upon filing cabinets stacked of land use decisions and related documents that you have as well. Creating a database to put all of the CAC documentation in for record retention will be part of that bid if I get approved that money to do that work. What I would say is that in terms of land use decisions, projects, things like the short-term rental committee work, you know, the good thing is that a lot of that information, the pertinent documents with all of that work has been shared with me and has been part of the public record for all of those proceedings and processes. And that will be the same for Senate Bill 406 and some of the other things that we'll be doing in the future. So I would say in terms of the documents that really reflect the outcome of the CAC processes, I think we're in really good shape. Lori, in terms of Oceanside, you're right, and you're right, and you're right, and you're right about the good work Nescoin has been doing. And I appreciate that. And I will tell you that because some of their meetings have not been posted, it has been problematic for reasons that I'm sure everyone can appreciate as far as accessibility and transparency. Part of their issue is they are out of storage to post some of those meetings. So the other thing as part of this work that I am hoping to do, if I get the money award, would be to create a database for everybody to upload your meetings to. And then for all the CACs countywide, they would be in one place. Even if you kept current meeting links on your own websites with the storage you have, but we could archive all of that stuff that would be accessible somewhere else. So as part of that funding, it includes hiring a consulting firm to do the work, because we just can't. And, you know, to your point, it is a tremendous amount of work. So budget hearings are in May. the next round of those. So please keep your fingers crossed. We are broke, in case you haven't heard that. But this is a one-time expense. And so I am hopeful because of that, it will make it through the budget committee. So I will report back to you with you guys on all of that when I know more.
Thanks, Sarah. Nancy, your hand is up. Also, Laura, your hand is still up. I'm not sure if you had another question, but Nancy, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to second what Rand said. It's been an incredibly busy couple of years, and particularly this year with both the community plan subcommittee running, and the bylaws subcommittee doing its stuff. I just have to give huge kudos to both Gary and Candace, because they have done a tremendous job of sending out emails and adding things to websites and giving us a lot of support. And I'm anticipating that next year the bylaw subcommittee is not going to have as much to do. And hopefully when the community plan is done, there won't be so much to do, and it won't be as big a job for people, for Gary and for the officers to manage. I'm really looking forward to a much quieter couple of years coming forward. So if there is someone who has some interest in participating as secretary, I think it will hopefully be more manageable. I know it's a huge job, but hopefully it'll be a little more manageable. But thank you, Candace and Gary, for all your support.
Okay, so we're going to leave that position open and not run the poll, and we'll get back in May. Congratulations to Mark on a landslide victory. So the next agenda item, number 8, is announcements. We had some discussion about an update from Commissioner Bell about TLT, and we are going to run we have an executive meeting scheduled for, I believe, on Tuesday, and are going to schedule a separate membership meeting for the TLT update and discussion and feedback. So that could be a good amount of information in a somewhat lengthy meeting, depending. So that will be upcoming soon. That's the only announcement that I am aware of, unless there is anything else from the board. Okay, great. So we have our 2 subcommittees next. Agenda item number 9 is the community plan update. And you're on mute, Rand.
Okay, there we go. I'm just going to read this for brevity's sake. The Nescoin Community Plan Steering Committee has updated the 2025 plan to include a section that defines middle housing as prescribed by SB 406 and adjust it based on the available options for standards and ordinances. The community plan in its current draft is available to review by the public on the community plan page of the nescoincac.org website. Thank you, Gary and Candace. Please take a look at the plan and sit down with some time to page through the document. Take a second here to thank Tom Seep, who has tracked our work and integrated changes into the entire community plan. His intrepid and diligent edits and overall design of the plan have kept the document up to date over the last year or 2. Additionally, Gary and Candace have been nimble and responsive to the subcommittee's communications needs. Many thanks to these essential volunteers. Please mark your calendar for a subcommittee meeting this coming Monday, April 14th at 2 p.m., where the subcommittee will be preparing for the meeting the following Saturday, when the Nescoin Community Plan Steering Subcommittee of the NCAC presents our final middle housing feedback meeting, Monday, April 21st at 7 p.m. That's a Zoom call. Please join this meeting to review the middle housing decisions drafted at this point and provide feedback to the subcommittee regarding the choices we make within the legislated models and standards that SB 406 requires for each community. We realize that there are numerous areas of this issue to understand in order to make the choices best for Neskowin moving forward. The subcommittee has reviewed the areas that we have choices and indicated to you what options we recommend after our review. We present the vision and values statements with the community plan that are driving the decisions we recommend at this point and continue to listen to you to better understand your perspectives on these choices. To review the materials before the meeting, please look at the community plan version 10 on the community plan page of the website. Middle housing information begins on page 12. We encourage you to take a deep breath and do some homework, as the decisions we make will have implications as to how Neskowin works with these middle housing options in the next 20 years. You can be a part of that decision. The county will be sent the results of our work in late April. So we ask for your feedback at this meeting on April 21st at 7 p.m. to prepare the documents to submit to the county at the end of the month. Thank you for your time and attention. Neskowin Community Plan Steering Subcommittee. Okay, there's the report.
I'd like to add to that you'll see two versions of the document where Rand indicated them. One is marked dash clean, and one is dash marked up. The clean one is the one I recommend you read. The markup is pretty messy, and it shows proposed edits that have not yet been accepted by the subcommittee. And there will be an R11 by the time we have our meeting on the 21st.
Oh no, I put out version 10 in the.
No. It's version 10 is true now, but we have a meeting
Okay.
between now and then, and things will change.
Yes, constantly. Thanks to Tom.
Rand,
Yes, Guy.
so the meeting this Monday of our subcommittee is the people who may want to participate in that meeting, and are there, I don't have the agenda in front of me, but will we be working on middle housing things that people may want to take part
Yeah,
in?
we
not
want to get as far as we can.
on
We
Monday.
have everything in there. And then Tom has a few days to include those edits and catch up with what happens Monday. But certainly people, the public is always welcome, and it's an open Zoom meeting. That's the agenda, is basically to keep going as far as we can regarding our recommendations before the meeting, that then the public can weigh in. They can weigh in at that meeting also, but they haven't been very present in those. And the other one is to get more, rustle the bushes and get more people to show up, because that will be kind of our last opportunity for public feedback before we have to publish this for the county. Did that answer your question, Guy?
So if I wanted to participate, if I were somebody who wanted to participate in the middle housing discussion, I can go to the 14th meeting.
Absolutely.
And is there also on the agenda of the 14th meeting, any discussion about the general plan that we just put out, the version 10 draft? Will that be?
Well, as now that it's there for many people, more people to read, I hope that more people will weigh in, read it, and say, why did you do this or why did you do that? But we've also indicated in the vision that Tom has associated the decision made to date with the vision and values that drove those decisions. So that's a criteria upon which our decisions are made.
Right, I understand, but so the agenda on Monday would include people being able to give feedback on the overall plan and our overall schedule. That's all.
Every meeting is available if people are there for them to question or add or, yeah,
Okay.
participation it's a public forum, so public meetings law
And
require.
so the 21st is a meeting in which we will finalize the recommendations on middle housing to the county. There will be no further meeting to discuss any changes in those recommendations after the 21st on middle housing. Is that right?
And I believe so, because Sarah indicated she kind of needs the document to bring forth to the county. Is that accurate, Sarah?
Thank you, Randall. Yes, I will need the document, but what I would recommend is that in May or June, we have a follow-up meeting for anyone who would like to attend, because as we know, these documents are ever evolving and can shift and reshape as we take them through the public hearings process as well. Because we are wrapping up our work, but that next phase will start very soon. I just want to say thank you for all of the amazing work you guys are doing with that. And yeah, I think we should have a follow-up meeting once we start getting into the public hearings, especially as those hearing notices start getting shared for folks who maybe aren't aware of the work we're doing and haven't been able to attend all of these great CAC meetings, that we have another follow-up. And just quickly too, so everyone knows, I will be hosting my first work session with the Planning Commission on April 24th. They will not be seeing all of the drafts at that time, but that is my first work session to start preparing them for hearings that will start in June. So we have some time, Randall. I think getting the draft as close as we can and then doing that follow-up in May would be good for folks.
I think it's kind of constant until it gets adopted.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
the trick is getting the public to continue to attend, and that's why my apologies go to Gary and Candace, because I have to keep scheduling meetings that fit in the meeting schedule, but also continue to evolve with the document as the document evolves. And now the county will be needing documents, but we will continue to revise until it's adopted, I think. And that'll be
right.
the trick, is to schedule the meetings that keep up with the document.
Mhm.
Well, it's going to be once, as I understand the schedule, starting sometime in May, we will have the county will have either planning commission and eventually board of county commissioner hearings on middle housing. And of course, those hearings all have time for public comment on the thing. And that's what the notice is about. I think what we're gonna, and maybe on the agenda, Rand, for our maybe this Monday or following Monday, the 21st meeting, we should decide on how the CAC will handle the county's process once it gets to the hearing process, because if individuals, certainly any individual has a right to go and testify and give their opinion, and whether writing or in public hearing to the county. As for the CAC, for us to be able to, let's say, take a position, our subcommittee would have to review what's happening in the county hearing. We'd have to come back to the CAC. The CAC would have to consider it, vote on it. I think that would be, given how tight this process is, I think that would be difficult to do. So I think after the 21st, it's really going to be, this is my opinion, maybe Sarah has a different thought, but I think it would be really hard for the CAC to participate come May and June because of the way the CAC decision-making is. And our subcommittee can't participate and represent the CAC. So it's really going to be up to individuals. So the best time to get Neskowin's thoughts, ideas, plans, how this impacts us is in our subcommittee hearing meetings rather, this Monday and on the 21st.
Correct. Thank you.
I have a logistical question for Sarah.
Uh,
Would it be useful for me to break out the section which has to do only with middle housing into a separate document temporarily for easier handling on your part, or does it matter?
Thank you, Tom. It actually, because I am working with the consulting team to do the draft work now, I would break it out and send it so that because we have to format, there's certain framework themes and styles that go with the work. If you want to break those pieces out, then we will put those into the drafts.
And
Um,
we are going to be making a few changes to the things that you sent us. Do you want me to leave those as change bars? Or do you just want our opinion without noting what's different from what you sent us?
Go ahead and make all of the changes.
Okay.
And send it to me. Yep, just go ahead and the other piece of this that we have not talked about with and in terms of the process is that I have to send everything to the Oregon Department of Land Conservation and Development at least 35 days prior to the first hearing, because they also have to review our work to make sure it's compliant with state law. And so, Tom, make all the changes, put them all in there, and then we will work through them. And if there's anything that is flagged right away, I will be sure to visit about it with the subcommittee. Although we've been tracking right where we're supposed to be, and I don't expect any surprises for Nescoin. And then if DLCD comes back with any feedback, I will reach out to the subcommittee so we can talk about that. But I'm very confident in our work, and just to you and others, Tom, that have just done a phenomenal job with this. So I'm feeling good about what we're doing and being able to get it through.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Sarah, may I ask, one of the things that came up at our subcommittee that you were going to check on in terms of what our consultants and maybe even DLCD has an opinion on. Can we, in our recommendation, say that in terms of middle housing, in our residential zones, certainly let's say even R1 and R3, sure. Can we say that the use of those of any middle housing development has to be housing, whether it be outright or conditional? Have you gotten an opinion on that yet, or is that something we still have to seek out?
So this is what I know. Anything, because I've got some other communities that are pushing for more restrictive language, even for single family and duplexes, including limitations of uses, etc., that have really spurred some pretty controversial and passionate conversations with those CACs. There are concerns about property takings if we implement or fold in anything that further restricts or limits anything that exists today. And so I've gotten guidance from DLCD on what triggers Measure 56 notice. And then with that, the concerns of what that could do to existing properties in terms of constitutional takings, and as well as creation of non-conforming uses and structures. So just what I know based on my work with other communities, I will be surprised if the Board of Commissioners wants to take any of that on and put the county in that type of risk environment.
Yeah, I think our hope was that since the legislature passed this as a housing bill, that and we're going to have to do Measure 56 notice anyways.
We are not.
Pardon?
We are not. I will send out notice of the hearing, but because we are within the framework of that law, I do not have to send out Measure 56 notice.
So then, I guess the thought is that restricting middle housing to housing uses is not covered with under the legislation.
It is not, because ultimately all of the other uses that are allowed in the underlying zone. So if you take, for instance, a home occupation or ability for a bed and breakfast enterprise, uses on the land that don't involve the structure itself, we would then, if we reshaped that and added layers of restriction to properties, both by use and by structure, that go beyond Senate Bill 406, then I do have to send Measure 56 notices, because those limitations could be perceived as a constitutional taking or create non-conforming issues. There's been a lot of, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Guy. Thank you. But I have spent a significant amount of time of my focus these last couple of weeks working through all of that, because every community is a little different in what their asks are for reshaping and adding some of those layers. And if it's, I can bring the request forward, but the board is apprised of those non-conforming and constitutional rights concerns and the risks with them.
I would think I was, and maybe others were hoping that within the legislative language and interpretation of the legislative language, we wouldn't have to go out for Measure 56 to say that this is for housing only. But if that's the opinion, and that's our legal counsel's opinion and DLCD's opinion, we really don't have a choice. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you all. That was an extension of the community plan update. So unless there's anything else, we're going to move on to item 10. Now, this is the bylaws update with Nancy. For those following along on the agenda, this will be a 10 to 15 minute item. It's listed as 5 minutes to reflect the fact that time flies when you're having fun. We can go ahead, Nancy. You're on mute, Nancy.
Thank you. And thank you. We'll try to keep it quite brief. We do have a presentation here. Okay, so I just wanted to give you an update on our committee's work, and we're kind of in the swing of things like the community plan is, although ours is a little more in the background. So I do want to acknowledge our committee. I'm the chairperson. Michael Beachley, who is also our illustrious parliamentarian for the NCAC, is our scribe. Tom Sipe is our incredible editor. We share him, and so poor Tom is extremely busy these days with 2 different sets of documents. Wyatt Angelo and Susan Schoenberg fill out the committee, and we're very, very thrilled to have Sarah Apsher, director, be our consultant, and she has attended many of our meetings as well, as has Mark Everett. So we still meet as a full committee at least twice a month. This month we're doing 3 meetings, and we always meet the first and third Fridays at, should say, 9 a.m. via Zoom. All of our committee documents and meeting videos are posted in advance, or the documents are posted in advance on the NCAC website under the events calendar. And thank you again, Candace, for posting that. And everything is posted afterward in the archives, including the videos. So this year, our committee is working on a new document called the Policies, Procedures, and References that has not existed before. And it basically supplements the bylaws that we worked on all last year. And I think a lot of you are very familiar with what we were doing with the bylaws that were approved at a special meeting in May last year. So I'm going to turn it over to Tom, and then we're going to come back and talk about the feedback session schedule, because we would really like to have your input at the end of the meeting with a poll on how interested are you in this document? Do you care about hearing more and providing input to it? Because we'd love to hear your input as we go through the policies and procedures. We've spent a lot of time on it. It's something that is for the NCAC, and but we want to find out how much time do you want to spend in feedback sessions, but we want to show you what it is first. So I'm gonna let Tom share the document and go through a few of the key points.
Okay. So I will now figure out how to share and see whether or not it appears that I have shared successfully. Okay. People can see this? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, somebody said that. Okay. We have really three kinds of things in this document. We have policies which are meant to be guidelines or philosophy really of how things should work within the NCAC. It's come up several times in the last year that the executive board said, well, you know, we actually don't have any kind of a policy set for this. So for instance, we don't know whether or not we should allow somebody to make a presentation because we don't have any guidance. Policies are the guidance. Then you have procedures, which is really the mechanics of how you execute policies, and any other things which kind of need to be lined out, such as, you know, how do you do minutes? How are minutes to be created, and what content? And then we have references which are meant to be really for convenience. We have things such as maps of the various maps of the NCAC areas, including neighborhoods, what the NCAC borders are. So that is just meant to be useful things. One of the things I hope that can let you know whether or not you're interested in hearing more is I'm going to just give you what you can see on the screen now is the policies that most of them are fairly complete. There's some that still need to be worked on. But these are and I'm not going to bore you with reading them, but these are the kinds of things that are in policies. These things that we have some recommendations, some requirements for the NCAC to act in a particular way. Like, for instance, conflict of interest. It lines out, you know, what our policies are for conflict of interest, and in an effective procedure, also that paragraph that was read right before the vote, that is included in the draft that we're working on. So you've had enough time, I think, to look at this one. And then procedures. These are the procedures which we are currently working on. Part of the directives has that statement that was made. We have things like which somewhat blank now is the NCAC archives. We recognize that there are some deficiencies and potential deficiencies. We hadn't heard that there was actually a CAC which had run out of space, but we are concerned that we're about to run out of space. So we do need to get that fixed, and I sure hope we get the money to do that. And things like detail on what to do with conflict of interest, descriptions of task forces, and also any subcommittees which are ad hoc. And then the references. One thing which is glaringly empty right now are the job descriptions. And that would probably help us in recruiting people to consider the jobs. But we have it on our plate to go ahead and render those. And then I guess the other thing on that slide, the last slide, was policy number 1 is, excuse me, central to what's going on in the rest of the document. Basically, the 4 principles we have for creating these policies are: we have to have transparency, inclusiveness, fairness and equity, and respect. And you can read the text there. And then that's really the philosophy we've used in, get rid of that bullet. I guess you can. That's the philosophy we use in constructing it. And the document's largely done. It is available on the website. And I believe we have a link to the most current version. And that's all I have. Are there any questions for me?
Okay, thank you, Tom. I'm going to just go on. Well, are there any questions for Tom on his part of it?
Good.
Okay, I think I'm sharing it again.
Yes.
So basically, there's a lot of really complete, and as Tom said, a lot of still work in progress on this. We are putting Rev 30 up on the website here today, and all you have to do is go into one of the events, and you'll see the meeting folder is set up. Meeting documents is set up, and we're updating that folder and using it for each of the feedback sessions, so you can see the latest documents that are on there. So we have a feedback session schedule, and you note that we have if needed. And this is where we want to kind of get your opinion. There are a lot of meetings going on this spring between just for the NCAC, not to mention other organizations that you might be involved with. And we want to value your time. So we had our first feedback session last Wednesday, and we want to thank the 3 people who attended outside of the subcommittee. And we went through an overview of the overall document. We took about an hour and 20 minutes. And I understand there were a bunch of other things that were happening on Wednesday night. But what we're looking at doing in subsequent feedback sessions is taking selected policies with their related procedures and related references and going through them in a little more detail, giving people a chance to provide input. So they're either going to be on Wednesday nights or on Saturday mornings at 10. And then we have a special membership meeting planned for Saturday, May 31st, to adopt the policies and procedures, and also to make some minor bylaws changes that we've kind of discovered along the way, like what do we do if we don't have somebody in an office? And so that we have vacancies covered, but that's if somebody leaves mid-year. So the one difference between the policies, procedures, and references, or PP&Rs as we refer to them, is that they only require a simple majority change at a membership meeting when it's properly noticed on the agenda, rather than bylaws that have to have a 2/3 majority and are they're meant to be able to be changeable as necessary. So, we had some discussion today about bringing someone in from the county to talk about something that hadn't been put on the agenda. And we may need to modify that going forward with some discussion. So we really value the community input on that. So at this point, we have these 8. We don't think we're going to need 8, but do we just need 2 more? And then we might have 1 more before we vote, before we have the special meeting. So the feedback sessions are like what we did last year. They're informal discussions as opposed to coming to one of our bylaws committee meeting where you're more doing public comment. And all of the meetings are up through, I think, the beginning of May are on the county events page right now. So first, before we go to the poll, just like to hear from you what you think about the policies, procedures, if you're seeing them. As Tom mentioned, you can see the document by going to any of the events pages and looking at the latest version. It's quite a document. What is it, Tom? 50 some pages at this point. So, I mean, it's easy reading. If you're looking for a way to go to sleep at night, you have this document. So,
Hey, Nancy,
yeah.
was there, in the last executive board meeting, was there talk about turning one of the final sessions into a review for the executive board, just kind of a
Yes.
summary of the PP?
Yes, in fact, thank you for bringing that up, Alex. It's not actually on this schedule. We have a special executive board meeting scheduled just to go through everything with the executive board on April 26th, I believe it is, on Saturday morning, because so many of these things directly affect the officers and committee chair people. So it gives you guys a chance and it's open to the public also. So it's another feedback session that's just for the executive board. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Any other questions or comments about the PP&Rs or the process? Okay, why don't we go for the poll then, Gary? So I know there are a bunch of, so you have to scroll down to get to all the questions. Sorry, there's a lot here, but we would just really like to understand your interest level about this. And I'm going to take time for you to be able to read everything and remember to scroll down. There are 3 questions.
I assume the committee shouldn't respond. to
Yeah,
this.
I think the committee should probably not respond. I don't want to skew it. And if anyone has a question about how the questions are written, feel free to ask too. Surveys are in straw poll. This is a straw poll. It's non-binding. It's just we have a bunch of this in our policies and procedures about how to do this. And I think I violated one of them right here, having multiple questions in a poll.
I wasn't going to mention that.
And I will just say it's an incredible committee to work with. Everybody is just terrific. How are we looking, Gary? You're muted.
Looks about 7 respondents so far.
Okay. I'm thinking if we take out the subcommittee and Sarah, I'm guessing you're not answering. Officers are welcome to answer. Is everybody done or is anyone still trying to answer? Maybe that's a way to
I did not
raise it.
answer, Nancy.
I mean, you're welcome to, Sarah.
I'm quite tempted to say, ugh, I hate this kind of stuff, but
That would be my husband. I think we're probably, are you seeing anyone else? Is anyone else trying to answer? Okay, I think we're good. And I think on your thing, you can see numbers, right, Gary? So I don't know how we have.
Yes. I wonder what's the best I do, and I'm not familiar with how Zoom is going to treat these multiple choice questions if we get the same
These
percent.
are not multiple choice. These are single choice.
Yeah, I haven't how Zoom reports this when we do it'll typically create like a CSV file that you can load into Excel. So I'm not sure if you want me to do a screenshot on my end and then send that to you as a backup just in case.
That would be great because I think there's another type of report where it gives a little more information about how many people voted on your end and without the CSV thing. So,
All right.
I took a
Yeah.
screenshot just in case.
okay, thank you. So anyway, it looks like a mix. So I think I see like, I'm guessing, how many ended up voting, Gary? Was it like 9?
Yes, 9.
Okay, so I'm guessing we have 3 people who want to come out of the 9. Well, so that's okay. And you guys are more active. Okay, and then and it looks like you prefer the option 2 on how we run them, that we keep them pretty brief. So we might not need that many sessions. And then I don't see any comments. Can you read the comments, Gary?
Actually, it's not showing all it's showing here is that three people answered it, but they don't actually. It doesn't give the answers.
Okay, so we'll get that from the CSV file then. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes the tools surprise you, but yeah, hopefully that's there.
If anybody gave a comment that they would like to make sure is on the record, could you could you say what it is? If we are not able to read it at the moment, apparently.
Well,
Looks like 3 people gave a comment.
Nancy, this is Guy. I was the one who wrote a comment, and first, I think that this whole document, the policies, et cetera, are absolutely critical. And not only, I mean, it's just my general experience of 19 and a half years of experience on the CAC, something that we could have used a long time ago. So one, I really do think the work is critical and it's important that we pass this. I think for me, you know, I'm much better responding to documents or emails or whatever, individual conversations than attending a feedback meeting that just, and maybe it's just, you know, I don't know, just my style. But so I think when I answered some of the questions, I said, well, yeah, no, I'm not really interested in going to a feedback meeting. But I think it's critical what we're doing. 2, I think the way the committee has handled it, and I think you've heard this feedback before, is so professional and so inclusive that, you know, if people were worried, maybe they'd want to be attending more. But I think there's a lot of trust there. So
Thank you for that.
That's kind of what is behind my comment.
Thank you. I think that's actually what we were hoping. We built trust over the last year, people, but you know, we just don't want to have any. So thank you. Appreciate that.
I noticed there was a comment about the current community plan is not available, showing the wrong version. We have some things to iron out there, but we'll make sure that shows the current version when you go to the website.
Thank you.
This is Lori. I made one of the comments, and I just said, I've said this at your feedback meeting also, to try to keep it as simple as possible so as to make it easy to understand and easy to participate, and not make community members feel like it's pointless to engage because it's too bureaucratic and hard to do that. And I also applaud everything you've done. You guys are amazing to think through all the details. So I don't want to sound like I'm being a naysayer, but in the back of your mind, please, if you have to make a decision one way or the other, keep it simple and easy to understand.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we're hoping we're doing that. We're striving really hard to make it understandable. And I really appreciate your coming to the meeting the other night, Lori, and you and I need to follow up too. So if you could email me your phone number or something, we can talk. So thank you.
Nancy, it's like anything, these all of what you're putting down and going through and working through, what are the options? What should the CAC be about in terms of these policies and everything? They're paper documents until they're not. And that's when they're not is when an issue comes up.
Right.
And then everybody's looking for the document. What is our policy? What is our practice? What is our procedure here? How do we handle this? Why aren't we doing that kind of thing? So I think for most people, you know, I can name a half a dozen things that have occurred that are very serious over the last 20 years of our CAC that I wish this was in place. It would have helped clarify a lot of things. It would have kept us out of trouble, right, Sarah? Is she still on? So it's I think it's something that is very much needed. And the fact that not a lot of people are responding, even in general right now, is because I think the CAC, in my view, and again, like going back to Tom's comment, nothing about past administrations, but I think over the last several years, CAC has been very well run, very inclusive, very transparent, and this has really helped in general. So it might be why you're not getting a lot of feedback either.
Yeah, thank you. And I think you make a really good point there. This really is intended to be a reference. You know, part of it can be used for training for officers and that kind of thing, but which we actually we're going to have a procedure on policy. I get them mixed up. But anyway, but it's meant to be a reference document and a livable one, and that can be changed as necessary, but a reference for people to go to for if they have a question about something, along with our illustrious parliamentarian, who is always a great reference. So, Michael, by the way, who's we're fortunate enough to have on our subcommittee as well. Okay, well, are there any other questions or comments? And
I'll just make a comment that I've taught the formal conduct of meetings for about 40 years. And we always look to the past as a pile of mistakes, but it's the past upon which got us here. And the things that we learned by doing what we did in the past. And believe me, the next generation is going to look at what we do now and say, boy, those people screwed up once in a while, didn't they? So it's a process of growing. And these documents that we're working on now, these policies and procedures, are really, in parliamentary terms, they're really regarded as standing rules. And standing rules can be changed at any time the organization feels it's important, because this is how we have all agreed to conduct our affairs. And that's really all it is. And it certainly helps all of us to be on the same page, as well as the same book.
that's great. Okay, well, but well said, Michael. And with that, I think we're done, Alex. And thank you all for your input.
Thank you, Nancy and Tom and everyone in the bylaws. It's a lot of work, and it's work being done well.
Thank you. I think both of our subcommittees are doing great work. So
yeah. So we are at the public comment section. If there are any comments that haven't been made,
there's some in the chat.
Okay, here is Sarah said agreed with Guy on his comment about the PP&R, and Hillary said thank you, Nancy, and bylaws.
Thank you, Hillary.
Wonderful. It's a thumbs up from Tom as well. So that's it for what we have on the agenda. So that was we got a lot done. We had an election, updates, announcements. So it's 11:21, and with no public comment, we will adjourn the meeting. So thank you very much, everyone.
Nice job, Alex.
Thank you, Alex.
Oh, of
Thank you,
course.
Thanks, Alex.
Always.